Today's notes are going to be on competition, supply, and demand. First fill in here would be competition. We're looking at things that impact price, and three of the things that do that that we'll look at there in this unit would be competition, supply, and demand. So first, looking at competition. Competition causes prices for us, the consumers and customers, to decrease. The more competition that we see, more likely that prices are going to go down. And that's always good news for us because we want to save money. And so competition will save us money. For example, there's 3 gas stations all near each other trying to match prices. As one gas station decides to lower their price, then the others will have to in order to keep up, because if one gas station stayed at $2.60 and the ones nearby dropped down, the one nearby dropped down to $2.40, well, most people are going to just go to the one that's cheaper. So the more competition that you have, the better for us. If there's a gas station that's all by itself, like in the next example here, a gas station that is isolated, they can keep their prices higher because there is no nearby competition. On my drive into school, I pass a BP on the corner of 322 and 608, Hamden Corners. A lot of you have probably seen that gas station. It's a BP all by itself. There really isn't a gas station that close, and because of that, it's usually a little bit higher than all the other gas stations that I see around here, compared to the ones that are in town and Middlefield on 87 there, where we've got a few gas stations all right around near each other there. The M&T, Circle K, and when you have a few gas stations all near each other, the prices are going to go down because they're competing with one another for our business. So competition is a really good part of our economy. Another thing that impacts price would be supply, the law of supply. When a buyer is willing to spend more money on a product, the amount supplied is going to increase. What you have to think about here with the law of supply is from the perspective of the person who is supplying. So imagine that you own your own store and you're selling shoes, and you own like a Foot Locker kind of shoe store. The more money that people are willing to pay for LeBrons, like if all of a sudden they're willing to spend $300, then you want to have even more. So your supply is going to increase because people are willing to spend more. Now, on the other side, as the price goes down, like if people only really want to spend $40 on LeBrons, well, you don't really want to sell as much of those because you can make more money on other things. So for the second point there, as the amount of money that people are willing to spend goes down, as it decreases, then the supply will also decrease. If people are willing to spend $5 for a loaf of bread, the bread company will want to increase production, because normally maybe your bread only costs $2 or $3, but if all of a sudden people are willing to spend more, then people who make bread will want to make even more of it because they'll make more money. But if it goes down and people are just, for whatever reason, bread just, maybe people think it's unhealthy or something, and people just decided to buy other things and they're not willing to spend as much, well, then if people are only willing to spend 50 cents or $1 on a loaf of bread, then people who supply bread are not going to want to make as much of it because they're not making as much money. So the law of supply, you got to think of it from the perspective of the person who owns a store, the person who has their own company, or the country that supplies whatever that product is. Law of demand is looking at it from the perspective of the buyer, you and me, the consumer, the people who are buying things. And for the first bullet point there, as the price of an item increases, so imagine that the price of LeBrons kept going up and up and up, the demand to buy it is going to go down. It will decrease. As the price of an item decreases, the demand to buy it increases. And this will make sense to you. When if the price of LeBron's was $400, people wouldn't be as interested in buying it. But if all of a sudden there was a big sale and they were $40, well, then a lot more people who didn't want to buy it before are going to want to buy it. If the prices for bread goes up, the demand to buy bread is going to go down. Or gas, even though people need gasoline, if the price kept going up and up and up, yeah, people still need to drive. They're going to have, but they might not drive as much. They might decide, well, maybe I'm not going to drive to on vacation. I'll go on an airplane instead. Or people who have a car with gas might say, oh, I'll look at buying an electric car. So when it comes to prices, that will, when they go up or down, that impacts the demand. Now this graph here, the supply demand chart, it shows you how price can impact supply and demand. And as you can see, as the price of an item gets higher, so here it shows where the price is getting higher. As the price gets higher, then the supply for the person who wants to sell it, it's going to get higher up there. So we got like letter E shows that when the price is very high, or I'm sorry, this is the demand curve. Supply would be D. So when the price is very high, then the supplier wants to sell a lot of it because they're going to make a lot of money. But if the price is very high, letter E shows the demand. The demand's going to be very low. When price is low, like down here, prices, this is very low, $1. When it's only $1, the supply is very low because they know they can't make that much money. So they're not that interested in supplying a lot of something if it doesn't get a lot of money. And then down here, demand would be very high when the price is very low. So notice that they don't really match up except for right here. This letter C would be the sweet spot. This is the best price to sell an item. And that's what suppliers try to figure out, is what's that sweet spot price where we're making some money and a good amount of people still want to buy it. Down below, reviewing input and output. Input would be resources that are used to make a product. Things like raw materials or human resources or capital goods, plastic, metal, wood, the people who do the work. And then output is the final product that is created and sold. So when it comes to input and output, they have a relationship with each other that the more input you have, the more output you have. So if you have more plastic, metal, people working on it, more factories, more buildings, you can make more of it. So the more the input goes up, the more the output goes up. When demand increases, so as people want more of something, the amount of output also increases. That means there's going to be more people that want it, and they're going to make more of it. When the demand goes down, the output goes down. So when demand decreases, output decreases. When people want less of something, then they're not going to be making as much of it. Whoever makes whatever that is, whether it's shoes or cars or computers or phones, a service of some kind, that demand and output, they go in the same direction. Demand goes up, output goes up. Demand goes down, they're going to make less of it. Output goes down.